Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And by the way, Mr. Lopez, that looks like a great field to graze in to me from the one you've got up there. A lot of feed that's up. But like to start with Mr. Lopez. We have a real issue. It seems the federal government keeps trying to acquire more land, and I found it incredibly curious when we've had the Forest Service before us, even the BLM. They don't have the resources to currently manage the lands they have, but are now acquiring more land. Now, they've been acquiring land near your homestead. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Tipton, that is correct. In my written testimony, I provided you with a map. Right. That was attached there, and basically the BLM has been purchasing small tracts of ranch that were parts of old ranches that were around me until the point that I am now considered an in-holding, which they gleefully tell me that I am an in-holding. And to me that means that I'm going to be the next willing seller because I'm completely surrounded by federal land now.
Now, what type of notice did you receive, Mr. Lopez, in regards to the acquisition of that land? Did the BLM notify you that they were making those acquisitions?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Tipton, they did not notify me. It's my understanding in talking to them recently that normally they do not notify the adjoining landowners because when they make agreements with certain nonprofits like Trust for Public Land and others, it's usually a hush-hush deal. They don't want anybody to know what they're doing, and so when I found out about all these things was after the fact.
But the fact of the matter is that may have been an economic decision on the BLM's part to be able to get the land at a lower price, but how's that impacted your land price now that you're now labeled as an in-holding?
Well, apart from being an in-holding, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Tipton, I also happen to be in what the BLM created a few years ago called an area of critical environmental concern. The BLM tells me that I am not in that area, although I'm surrounded by the area, but since I'm not federal land, it doesn't impact me. The problem is that it actually does impact me because if I went to use any of my mineral rights or anything else or do any development of my property being inside that zone, I would have a very difficult time getting anything through the county because they recognize the area of critical environmental concern.
So effectively this had a negative impact in terms of your holdings' ability to be able to resell the property. Don't you believe that adjacent landowners at a very minimum should at least be notified of these acquisitions because of the potential challenges that you're describing?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Tipton, I certainly do, and it would have been nice if they had advised me because now that they've purchased all this land, I have a lot of trespass issues on the property because my property is in between two pieces of BLM land, and so I get trespassed all the time. If I had known about this before this happened, we could have come to some agreement in doing a land exchange or something like that that would have benefited both of us.
You know, I just introduced some legislation. It was H.R. 5074, the Land Adjacency Notification and Disclosure Act, which would actually require that you be notified. Would that be of benefit to you?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Tipton, that certainly would be of benefit. Maybe not in my case now, but for many others, it certainly would be.
I thank you for your time and for being here and certainly understand some of the challenges that you're facing. Mr. Dunn, I'd like to be able to visit with you for just a moment, if we may, in regards to the company that you represent. In their vested private property easement across these Forest Service lands that they've had for 100 years, were they notified that it no longer existed and is now subject to a lengthy NEPA analysis?
Yes, they have been.
Okay. And was the company ever consulted or afforded any opportunity to be able to respond to the Forest Service in regards to these actions?
They did. They had discussions with the Forest Service. They were in negotiations with the Forest Service. Ultimately, what the Forest Service said was, we will issue you a special use permit for that road you've already, well, that they believe that they already hold a vested right to, but we don't recognize, the Forest Service does not recognize vested private property right easements across our ground. So therefore, without our special use permit, you have nothing.
Is this, even with that ability to be able to have that easement, is this effectively a taking?
Yes, it is. One of the things I did disclose is that is what the company is considering is, and has filed a takings litigation on that basis.
Right, so no compensation was offered, the federal government took it.
No, they just wanted them to give up their easement.
This puts the company in kind of a difficult position of take it or leave it, really, doesn't it, with the federal government?
Absolutely. The take it or leave it attitude, not only are they potentially losing their right, but they're trying to start a company and reopen a mine, bring people to work, start up, get the community involved, get going. And without that certainty that that road is going to continue to be there and that they will continue to be able to access that, you're talking about a publicly traded company that might lose millions of dollars when they get shut down by the Forest Service over a 3/4 mile section of road.
Thank you. I'm out of time, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.